Now, SC asked Manipur government to act against illegal arms. Basically, it says we are looking at it, as we have said repeatedly, that we are not concerned with the source of wrongdoing. We are concerned with the fact that there has to be accountability for wrongdoing. We are not concerned with the source of human suffering. Irrespective of the source of human suffering, everybody has to be dealt with on a uniform basis, said the CJI Chandrachud. He is saying we want accountability. Investigation of crime, dealing with various aspects of human suffering, recovery of arms, providing compensation. These have to take place across board, irrespective of who the person genuinely in need is. Now, that is one part of it. In this, the court has asked Manipur government for a status report. Not only asking them to act against illegal arms, irrespective of the affiliations of those who are stocking or using them, and sought a status report on them from August 7. There is also one very important thing. Today, senior advocate Sanjay Hegde told the bench that while the August 7 order only referred to arms in control of the state, that is the other part of the story. The real problem is that there were a lot of arms in militant camps which were jointly patrolled by the state, and those militants now, what has happened is that the militants have entered those camps, taken away the arms, and because it does not fall within the exclusive jurisdiction of the state, those arms are being paraded on Independence Day, and that is what is adding to the violence. The court clarified it meant arms not just from the state armories, but from all sources. That is one part. The second part is the march which took place. And isn't the time has come, at least those barricades should be off. I'm very happy that on this discussion, after a long time today, I'm joined by my three panelists, Rami Niranjan Desai, author, writer. How are you, Rami? A long time.
Very well, thank you.
A very warm welcome to you. Professor Prasannaji, thank you so much, sir, for giving time.
Sure. Sure, thank you.
And Dr. Gwite, thank you, madam, for coming again on my show.
Yeah.
And this time I'll ask Rami to open. She has joined us after a long time. Rami, tell me, these two things are important. One is the issue of arms, looted arms, and court saying, you just get them back, fix accountability, what has happened. And court says, and the court very categorically says that act against illegal arms irrespective of who is stocking or using them. So that is one. And secondly, today's strange development when the barricades were being challenged. I was just thinking, theek hai, the state government has stopped them. Yes, law and order issue. But then there was a press release which came out which says the line of control, and I felt very offended. What is this line of control in a state? There is no line of control in India. There is only one we have on the western border. Rami.
Quite right. Good evening to both of you. It really has been a long time, and much has developed in Manipur, and much has stayed the same. And I think you're quite right in pointing out what the Supreme Court has said. I think this is what we've been saying on your show, Karthike, and Brijesh has been there as well, where we've been saying that the retrieval of the arms that have been looted has to be first priority for any sort of way forward. We've also said that it's not just about the arms that have been looted, but there obviously has been information, call it rumors, call it whatever you want to, that illegal arms and ammunition has been coming from across the border, or they are being made on site, which isn't very difficult to do nowadays, as we know. And that is of primary importance to Manipur, to be able to see some peace. But if you remember, time and again, I have also said that this cannot be, or the situation cannot be the sole responsibility of the state. Of course, the state is a major stakeholder, and it needs to do what it needs to do to make sure that the people of the state, as well as the country, because these borders are so important, are safe and secure and not being manipulated by any outside influence. And we've seen this in the Northeast before. So this is not conjecture or speculation. But the responsibility alongside also lies with civil society. People know who have these arms. People know who are using it, even if they're using it for protection. At the end of the day, when tempers are at this point, it is very difficult, to ensure that they are not misused. And therefore, I think this responsibility lies on both sides, and this is something that we need to understand. Number two, about this march, of course, as you know, that I have always said that I am against any sort of provocation at this end, and it doesn't matter whether it comes from one community or another community. Provocation when things are so tight, when tempers are still flaring, and even though I think the larger parts of society want peace and want calm, there are elements and there are community representations that are emotionally and are
Okay.
sort of induced by what has happened. So let me just say this, as much as I don't think a march was needed at this point, I think it is really important that we understand that this sort of line of control, like you rightly said, is absolutely unacceptable. And to prevent one community to go into another area or vice versa is only creating complications for the future. Today is Janmashtami. Janmashtami is hugely important for the Manipuris. And let me quote this, Raji Bhagyachandra, one of the most important monarchs of Manipur, had said that, this land doesn't belong to anybody, but it belongs to Lord Krishna. And therefore, dividing or bifurcating or segregating the land of Manipur is akin to almost dividing Krishna. And on this day, I am sure this has been felt very deeply by one community. Having said that, I'm not justifying that the march should take place, or I think negotiation or some amount of dialogue would reap better benefits than this sort of more what would be seen as an aggressive stance. But again, we have to understand land is a very emotional issue, and therefore preventing one community over the other from accessing land that communities feel that they've been attached to time in memoriam is only making this situation complicated. I think the way forward has to be able to secure and ensure that displaced persons can go back to where they were displaced from. And communities have a huge hand to play in this. So, Karthike, I would really, this would be my limited point on this, that, we have to understand that land is a hugely sentimental issue, and this sort of bifurcation is not going to end well, nor is it going to be sustainable.
Jayesh, your thoughts? There are two things. One is the development in the court which took place, in which court is saying वो audit दीजिए, बताइए ये कहाँ गया है, accountability fix करिए. उन्होंने बोला जो लेके गया accountability fix कीजिए. ये court का कहना है. And the second, within that, Sanjay Hegde is saying that, a part of it, armory is accountable, but the ones where the Sioux militants have held their weapons, they have been lost, those are not accounted. That's the second part. The third part of the conversation is the march which was stopped. 3.
Well, Karthike, we have been discussing for a very long time now that how those arms which have been looted, given, surrendered, whichever term you want to use it, are a key problem now as far as the law and order issue is concerned. It's heavily, both sides are heavily armed. And there is no way, because all it requires is one person to induce chaos in the entire system and then, bring back the frayed tempers at full display. And that is, if the Supreme Court forces NBR Singh government to do a massive crackdown ensuring that weapons are being recovered from both sides, I think nothing better could be done than this. And there should be a crackdown, because a message ultimately has to be sent down that come what may, irrespective of your grievances, irrespective of your hurt feeling, irrespective of how you imagine a particular scenario to be at a place, you cannot use violence to support that. If you use that, then that is completely not done.
Okay. Then what about the march which took place today?
I agree with Rami, when she says that, that if you take out a march, right now, when the, I wouldn't even call peace, when the situation is so fragile, Karthike, right now, this will only add to the flare up. And this is something which should be avoided at all costs, because the ultimate aim is peace in Manipur, not ensuring that, that this is my right and nobody can take it away from me. But having said that, I also agree with what you said, that that no ethnicity can say that this is the line of control. I think line of control is between the two states, which Manipur borders, or the international line, international border with Myanmar and others. But there can be no two line of control.
I found that offending.
Within the state of Manipur. That is not acceptable.
I found that offending. Dr. Guite?
Yes, Kartike. Before coming to the march, I just want to begin by saying that with virtually all organizations, groups, and individuals, be it national parties, national and international medias, and famous personalities, international organizations, human rights bodies, including the UN human rights experts, and even the Indian security forces, acknowledging that the ongoing state-sponsored violence is targeted towards the minority Zhou tribals. So it is simply absurd for the majority Métis community, to kind of still pressing to block, to object to lifting the blockage, and also demonizing the minority tribals as perpetrators. And we have seen that in the hill areas,